feel free to hit the subscribe button down there on my YouTube channel. Thank you. I am today tackling a 2003 Rickenbacker. This is a 620. I'm going to do my best to do a crown job on these frets without taking any more lacquer off this guitar. A couple of little dings in the body. There's a little ding right there. So the guitar was brought to me needing a very serious fret crowning. These frets are completely flat. There's no radius to the tops of these at all. They are totally, every fret on this guitar is totally flat. So we're going to repair that. We're going to do a crown, polish, get these things shining again. Also, the output jacks here. This is a stereo system, and this would be the mono output right here. And if you're running it in stereo, you could come out that one. My understanding from the owner is that this output jack works and this one doesn't. So we're going to assess that and fix it so this guy has his guitar back. I guess it hasn't worked for quite some time. So lots of work to do. Really cool guitar. So I'm really excited to work on this one today. And I'm going to go ahead and get the strings pulled off of this thing. We're going to have to pull this cover off of the saddle so I can get in there and check intonation and set that up when time comes. Pull the truss rod cover off of this guy. We're going to take that off and maybe do some adjustments to the truss rod. We'll see where that sets once I get the strings off and see how level the fretboard is. I want that perfectly level when I do the crown work on the frets. I don't like any relief on the neck at all. So, again, hit the subscribe button. I'll be back showing you a little bit of the work that I've done. Should have a good time today. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Well, I've gotten the truss rod cover off of this guy and pulled some of the hardware off of this, and I'm about to clean this thing up. But here's a real important step that I take. I check the truss rod nuts here. These are really important. These need to be turned incrementally, as I say on every video. When you turn a truss rod nut, you need to make sure to turn those, once a year or so, just to make sure that they're working. What I've done is I've dropped a little bit of 3-in-1 oil in there, and I'm going to go ahead and let that sit and kind of soak in. I don't think this has been adjusted for a very long time, so we'll get this thing all cleaned up before I start doing any of the major work on this guitar. Couple of things I noticed before I pulled the strings off was that the pickups were way too close to the strings, and it's an interesting way they've designed this pickup to be adjusted for up and down, getting closer to the strings or further away. They've put this rubber washer underneath, or it's a foam washer underneath these pickups, and this center screw is what is used to adjust the pickup height, and that just squishes this foam washer down. This is a plate that the saddle sits on, and so the saddle sits on there like that. What's interesting about this is that these two screws right here, there's a little notch next to both of these screws, which allows me to slide this plate backwards if I need to flatten out the intonation, or slide it forwards if I need to sharpen it. So I have a little extra adjustment on top of the amount that I can move these saddles individually back and forth. So really interesting design. Kind of complicated, but very interesting. So I'm just still finishing up. I did a little bit of cleaning on this thing and keep getting my hands on it. But cleaning it up a little bit, making it look nice before I really start digging into this thing and working hard on it. I don't like working on a dirty guitar. So I'm going to polish this up and just use some body polish on this fretboard. It's lacquer. So there is some debris and stuff in between on the fretboard. I can see where some DNA, I guess, is laying on that fretboard. So we'll make this thing look shiny and new, and then we'll do the crown and polish on these frets. So really cool design. I haven't dug into the electronics yet. Waiting for that. Well, here I am back, having crowned these frets and cleaned the fretboard, and they looking really nice. I've gone over them with one pass with 600 grit sandpaper. Got a couple more passes to go, 1500, then some 2000. I got some 2000 grit sitting right there, and then pass with my favorite polish, and we'll see how these things look but they are looking remarkably better. If you're curious, just rewind and look at the frets before. Well, if you have a Rickenbacker and you wonder what your frets should look like, this is what they should look like. Crowned, polished, and perfectly smooth. I use 2000 grit when I stop. I found that leaves the frets so perfectly smooth that I have no desire to do any more. But these things are just absolutely stunning. You can kind of see the light bouncing off of them and the beautiful shine on that fretboard, quite different from where it started. So what my plan is now is to string it up, get it all set up, and check the electronics. We'll see what happens. Well, on this guitar right here, there's a little scratch. Looks like something's scratched the finish on this, and over in this area too. So I'm using some polish to try and remove some of those scratches as a little favor to the owner, and I hope he appreciates that. So hopefully this will take those, not hopefully, this will take those scratches out of there, and I'd tell you what it is that I'm using, but then I'd have to kill you. We do keep our secrets. Well, here we are back with the Rickenbacker, and we're restrung up and polished and cleaned, and all of the intonation adjustments and string height, string action here at the 12th fret, and again intonation. This guitar is perfect. You know, playing a chord clear up here on the neck is just as in tune as it is playing down here at an open end. The neck relief on this guitar I've set 5th, 7th fret. We're looking at about 10 thousandths, so I set it fairly low. And our string action here at the 12th fret is set to 4/64 of an inch. So the distance between the top of this fret, the 12th fret, and the bottom of that string is 4/64 of an inch. And I've done 3/64 of an inch on the high E string. Yes, we go that precise. Played the guitar a little bit, and it is a monster. But I have yet to plug it in and try the electronics out. So my next project is to take a look at these electronics and see what's going on with that. First thing I'm going to do is just run some cleaner in the jack that he's complaining about and see if that doesn't solve the problem. It may just be corroded. There was quite a bit of corrosion, not rust, but these frets were actually had some green coloration on them. That came off doing the fret crowning. So I'm curious as to whether or not this output jack is just gummed up. So we're going to clean it first. I'm a big fan of changing the spark plug before you change the engine. Woohoo! Look at that shit. No, I have not found it. I have not found the culprit. Guitar is in perfectly good intonation and shape, and it's beautiful and clean, and all the electronics are working just perfectly. To solve the problem with the stereo output, what was going on was these holes in this guitar are drilled very tightly around the jacks that are in here. Good buddy of mine up in Canada, Mr. Dave Rom, he sent me a note and said that he had solved this by actually routering out the hole that these jacks were installed in from Rickenbacker. I took a rasp, opened up that hole a little bit, gave the jacks a little more room to fit, and problem solved. The guitar is really working great.